What if the most effective prison ever built has no bars? What if its walls are made of glass and steel, so vast and identical you can't see where the prison ends and the real world begins? This is not a metaphor. Our modern cities, from the high-rises of Frankfurt to the new financial centers in Lagos, are being constructed according to a century-old blueprint for a new kind of prison, a prison for the human spirit. It was designed by an elite group of architects who saw human emotion and cultural identity as dangerous variables that needed to be controlled. They perfected a formula for an environment so sterile, so repetitive, and so devoid of meaning that it would systematically break our connection to history, to nature, and ultimately to each other. We are the first generations to be raised in this psychological experiment, and its architects are getting exactly what they wanted, a population easier to manage because it is too depressed and isolated to even remember what has been stolen from it. So in this video, we are going to diagnose this condition. First, we'll uncover what a psychologically healthy environment looks like, from the mountain towns of Germany to the islands of Indonesia. Second, we'll pinpoint the exact philosophy and the key figures who began engineering cities like Frankfurt and New York for alienation. And finally, we'll expose the devastating neurological and social consequences and see how cities like Hildesheim are fighting to reverse the damage. Speaking of how our environment affects us, the design of ancient cities held deep secrets about community and defense. We've explored the incredible layouts of cities from ancient Rome to Tenochtitlan. Uncover their secrets in the video linked below. To understand the sickness, we first have to understand what health looks like. For thousands of years, buildings were psychological anchors. They were deeply connected to their specific place on Earth. As the biologist E.O. Wilson described it, humans have biophilia, an innate urge to connect with nature. Traditional builders understood this instinctively. They used wood, stone, and patterns that mimicked the complexity of a forest. Look at a town in Germany's Harz Mountains like Quedlinburg. The details, the human scale, the shared visual language of Fachwerk. This isn't just pretty, it's a constant, nonverbal communication that says, you are part of this specific community. You are safe here. Travel to rural Norway and you'll find the Borgundstav Church. This is not a generic place of worship. It's a physical manifestation of a uniquely Norse identity, a story of cultural fusion carved into wood. It could exist nowhere else on Earth. This was a global truth. In the highlands of Sulawesi, Indonesia, the Tongkonan houses of the Toraja people are physical links to their ancestors. Here in East Java, the traditional Joglo house with its high roof creates a sense of protected, communal space. This architecture gave people a story to be a part of. It rooted them in their specific culture and place, providing a powerful antidote to anxiety. So our traditional buildings weren't just structures. They were systems for delivering psychological stability. They gave us scale, history, and belonging. But in the 20th century, a new school of thought saw these essential human connections as inefficient clutter. They proposed a radical, dangerous experiment to rebuild the world based on pure, cold logic. And in doing so, they began to systematically engineer depression into the very fabric of our lives. The blueprint for this new world came from influential thinkers like the architect Le Corbusier. His vision was captured in a chillingly prophetic phrase: "A house is a machine for living in." A machine has no empathy, no soul. To the modernists, the ornate styles of 19th century Paris or Vienna represented a corrupt social order. In their quest for a new, clean society, they believed that stripping architecture down to its bare essentials was a moral act. But they catastrophically miscalculated the psychological price of that liberation. This philosophy, born from the Bauhaus school, became the international style. Take Frankfurt, Germany. After being devastated in the war, it was rebuilt not with its historic character, but as a monument to this new modernism. Today it's nicknamed Mainhattan, a forest of glass towers that could just as easily be in New York or Shanghai. Its unique soul was replaced with a globally legible but locally meaningless efficiency. The international style became the default language of power, stamped onto cities from Chicago to Dubai, from Sao Paulo to right here in Surabaya, where new grass towers rise, often replacing older structures that carried a unique local history. It was an architecture for anywhere, which meant it truly belonged nowhere. And now, we live inside their experiment. The diagnosis is in. From the high-rise housing blocks of Singapore to the sprawling developments in suburban Beijing, we see the same patterns. Neuroscientists have confirmed what our hearts have always known. Sterile, monolithic environments are profoundly damaging. This was Birmingham, England. Look at what was lost. When you remove detail and human scale, you starve the brain of stimulation, leading to higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol. This brings us to the thumbnail of this video. Why are our cities becoming tombstones? Because a tombstone marks where life used to be. It's a monument to an absence. These sterile towers in London, Tokyo, and Frankfurt are monuments to the absence of culture, history, and human connection. They are giant, gleaming headstones for the communities they replaced. This is the machine for living in its most oppressive form. It's no wonder these concrete tower blocks from London to Moscow became synonymous with loneliness and despair. But even after a century, our inherent need for belonging is fighting back. The cure is beginning. Look at what happened in Hildesheim, Germany. Its historic Butcher's Guild Hall was destroyed in 1945 and replaced by a concrete block. But in the 1980s, the citizens tore it down and rebuilt the hall true to its original design. The same thing happened in Warsaw and Dresden. This isn't just nostalgia. It is a city performing psychological surgery on itself, choosing to build an environment that heals instead of hurts. The design of our world is not neutral. It is either connect us or isolate us. The architectural choices of the last century have left a deep psychological scar on our civilization. The question now is, will we continue to build these machines for depression in our cities? Or will we finally choose to build places that are truly meant for living in again?